Good evening. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for joining another edition of Technology Access Television. Well, today we're going to talk about one of the most exciting things that have come along that I've seen in a long time. I mean, you're in technology and you say, well, I've seen it all, heard it all, but then something happens, just comes together from a soul or a spiritual level that just says, man, this is, sometimes some good stuff can really come out of this thing called technology. And the whole notion of social media and people involved all over the world, you say, how can all of these people online do something that can come together and make real different things happen in their community at a big level, small level? And I think this new thing called crowdfunding is a lot more than just, it's a lot more than money. And my guest today is from one of the absolute innovators in this space. I mean, this is a company that started in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, but now they have become to be a real difference maker all across, I dare say, the entire planet. I don't know, maybe they're just everywhere.
It's true.
But my guest today has come home. She's come back to Chicago. She made her way out west, and now she's all the way back here in Chicago and bringing this story of crowdfunding and this company that she works for, which she is so proud of, called Indiegogo, to the attention. And I'm happy today to bring her to your attention so that you may benefit in some very special ways in what this platform can do to change lives and bring resources together to make a difference. And my guest today is Kate Drain. And Kate, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to be here.
That's right. This is only the third day that we've known each other. So
I know it's been glorious so far.
That's
can
amazing.
Only go up.
But I happened to get some news that you were having a kind of a meetup, and I've been very involved on that meetup scene myself in Chicago for a number of years. And so I said, Indiegogo, what are they doing in Chicago? I better go find out. And so I went down to 1871, and there you were. And a good friend of ours said, you may end up being on television as a result. Here you are on television. So Dante's prophecy has come true. We tell Dante, here she is. She's right here. Kate, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It's great to be here.
All right, tell us a little bit about your story. Now, you told a little bit of it the other night when we were down at your Indiegogo meetup. Mm-hmm. But what got you from Western Illinois out to San Francisco? What were you doing out in San Francisco? Were you going to school, or what was going on?
Right, and so I actually I went to Butler University in Indianapolis and moved
Butler.
to,
Yeah, basketball.
Oh, yeah. And moved to Chicago after I graduated.
All right.
And worked for a few years as a legal recruiter here. And then it was 2009 and the recession hit, and we weren't hiring any lawyers. And so I was let go, but it was one of the best things that ever happened because I went out to San Francisco and I started to get my MBA in sustainable management from Presidio Graduate School.
Okay.
And it was one of the best things that happened to me.
Now, what made you kind of go from lawyers to sustainability?
I was always really interested in sustainability, and even when I was at the law firm, I came up with a title for myself, Environmental Initiatives Coordinator,
Exactly.
Because I would make sure that we were recycling books because lawyers go through a lot, like the turnover of books is very high. Mm-hmm. They go out of date very often, and we would just throw them away, and so I took the initiative to ensure that they got recycled. So it was
something that was just in you.
It's at my core. I love justice. I love social justice, ensuring that people are taken care of and that we're taking care of the planet. So I went out to Presidio, got my MBA. When I was there, I met my four friends who later became my co-founders for a small company we started called the Can Van.
Okay.
Which is a mobile beer canning service for craft breweries. So we roll around the Bay Area, we can their beer for them, and we leave it with them so then they can distribute it. So it makes it possible for these small breweries to be able to distribute and to get their packages to more people.
So you had a truck that had the canning apparatus inside the truck?
There's a 10-foot horse trailer off of it.
Okay.
So we roll around in that. And so we had an Indiegogo campaign in the fall of 2011 because we were small business owners looking for capital. We didn't have, a VC connections. We're a small business. And it was incredible. We raised $4,000, and with that $4,000, we were able to make a lot happen. We were also featured in Fast Company 4 months before we were operational, because there was somebody who was our writer was looking through.
And how many years
Indiegogo.
ago was this?
So this was October 2011. So
Okay.
so a few.
So
then-
and Indiegogo as a crowdfunding platform was how old then?
So it launched in January 2008. So 3.5.
Just a couple of years. Yeah. And when I first heard about Indiegogo, some friends of mine, me being in television and knowing people in film, that Indiegogo was known in the film community because if you had an idea for a film and however, hustling you were, you could throw up an idea. And so was that a big part of their community to start out with, was independent filmmaking? Was that a lot of what they were doing?
It was. So when they first started out, the MVP of Indiegogo was just film.
Okay.
The intention was always to ensure that to empower anybody to fund what matters to them. And so the intention was always so anybody can raise money for anything on Indiegogo anywhere. And that's at the core of what we do, is providing access to capital anywhere.
So let's talk about that, because again, I know I don't want to run too fast here, but what this is it's an online platform. And Indiegogo is a place where if I have an idea, I can expose my idea to the world of people who can go then onto this website and pick through different ideas and say, well, this guy's trying to raise $5,000 for a documentary, or this guy's trying to raise $10,000 to start a business.
Right.
And then regular people say, okay, fine, that's kind of not a bad idea. I can send him $20 to get a T-shirt. I'll do it.
Right.
And that's kind of what crowdfunding is kind of all about?
At its core, crowdfunding is cultivating shared enthusiasm.
Okay.
And so what you're doing is you're putting your story out there. You're raising money you're pooling money for a film, for music, for anything that you want, anything that you would like to see out in the world that you are putting your energy into, and then cultivating shared enthusiasm around it, typically through perks like you were mentioning. So T-shirts, or maybe it's to be an executive producer of a film. One thing, Life Itself, which was a Chicago-based campaign.
Right.
Our COO at Indiegogo is very proud because he's listed as a producer in IMDb, and he has that experience because of Life Itself.
Wow.
Because he contributed to the Life Itself campaign. And it's neat because you get to give these people these experiences that they would never normally have. Like Dave is very excited that now he's listed in IMDb.
And for those that don't know, that's the master database of producers, directors, film projects, all these different things. And IMDb credits mean something. And
Definitely.
So that's a way to get a producer credit or executive producer credit. Now, this thing has become big time. I mean, Indiegogo has literally exploded to becoming one of the biggest platforms that are out there, and people have raised range. What's the on the upside of what people have raised on this platform in terms of for an individual project?
Right now there is Flow Hive, which is it helps beekeepers, and it's $5.4 million.
Wow.
It's live right now.
Wow.
We just had a campaign actually by Humans of New York that
Yes.
was raising money to send kids in Brooklyn to Harvard and to create a scholarship program. It had the highest number of contributors of any campaign ever, and it raised over $1.2 million
Wow.
from people across the world who were motivated by the story. And he didn't even offer anything as perks. It was people who were really motivated and touched by this story. And so it's incredible for me. What gets me passionate and like what makes me so excited to go to work every day is the fact that there are people making a difference in other people's lives without necessarily the expectation of something in return.
This is so amazing, and I'll tell you, you have to go to Indiegogo.com and just peruse the ideas that are out there. You can't help it. It's one of those things that you'll get hooked just checking it out, because you will see some stuff. Now you say, okay, it's a bunch of tech people and they're putting up ideas, this, that, and the other. You don't have a clue. People are doing all kinds of things. I remember one time I went there and there was this I'm into jazz. And so I know a lot about jazz history and jazz music, different things. And there was this phenomenal musician that everybody respects, Dr. Lonnie Liston Smith. And he had an Indiegogo campaign and was talking about all this wonderful music that had not been produced. And of course, everybody that knows anything about jazz, of course he has it. I mean, this is Dr. Lionel Lister Smith. And he had a campaign saying, hey, I'm going to self-produce this stuff. I'm going to put some of this stuff out there. You'll be able to get access to it. You're like, oh, man, I'm a part of history. I'm bringing back this great music. So it's just all different types of projects that are out there. Like you say, heart-touching projects, community projects, and people are raising real capital to put behind their projects. And so books are being published, movies are being produced, kids are being sent to Harvard, and it shows the global interest and prosperity. And, it's amazing that these people say, well, why aren't there good stories on the news? People talking about this type of stuff. Well, go to Indiegogo and kind of see what's going on. But now this is really interesting. A big part of Indiegogo, or what makes a campaign, are these little videos. Talk about what role video plays in getting the story out about projects.
Definitely. So videos play a huge role. As we know, having video just in general, it helps to build that connection, and it helps to build an understanding of more so than just a picture could do. So what we found is that campaigns that have a video, typically 3 minutes or less, raise on average 87% more money. And those are real dollars. And it doesn't have to be highly produced. What's the most important is to ensure that you're getting your story across there. You're demonstrating that you're honest, and your honesty and authenticity are the most important to demonstrate.
So this is where somebody says, okay, look, they get their iPad up and they say, okay, start talking, and then they get a little 2-3 minutes, and that's it. And then they upload that to the site, or you see some that look like they're Steven Spielberg. They got effects and every kind of thing, but it's from just a single shot to something that's well done with music, whatever, but something that helps get that story out there. Now, you get out there to San Francisco, you go to grad school, some of your cohorts in school come up with this idea, you use crowdfunding to get your idea up and running, and then what happened after that? How did you connect with Indiegogo?
And so then how I got a job at Indiegogo was I was getting ready to move back to Chicago in the spring of 2012. And I knew the Indiegogo team because I was an evangelist for them just on my own. I couldn't believe how amazing this resource was.
All right.
And so I connected with somebody from the team, Erica, and I went out, I took her out for drinks. I was like, Erica, you're from Chicago. I'm moving to Chicago in 5 weeks.
Okay.
Who do you suggest I connect with? And she said, actually, you sound perfect for a job at Indiegogo here in San Francisco. And after meeting our co-founder, Danae, and hearing the story and her vision for democratizing access to capital across the world, my plans changed. And I feel so lucky because I was able to still come back and create this job here in Chicago, where I supported a local level and finding ways to educate and empower people here to ensure that they also have access to capital, and not only access to capital, but access to information, access to a broader network. And all those things are possible when you help provide people with the tools.
Now, as this thing that started just as an idea of helping ideas connect with people, and people evangelize those ideas and connect with resources, this thing has just kind of grown. How many campaigns are on the platform now?
Over 200,000.
Over 200,000 different campaigns are on the platform. And these campaigns are raising thousands of dollars every day.
Yeah, we distribute millions a week to people.
And what people have to understand is people are actually getting this money. This is money that's actually coming to them. And just to talk a little tech for a while, how do they end up with the cash? How do they get the money? What actually happens where they end up getting the money?
So they collect money. Typically, a campaign is between 21 and 45 days.
Yes.
And at the end of the campaign, then it goes through our disbursement process, and typically people receive it within between 7 and 10 days after the campaign is ended.
That's what?
Isn't it incredible?
So they'll look up, and there'll be an electronic transfer, and they'll go to their account, and they'll say, "There's my 10 grand."
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in the bank. And one of the innovations that Indiegogo did is there were some these campaigns where you set a goal, and you either had to meet or exceed the goal to get your money. and some people would get right up there and didn't get it, and then be like, oh. But you guys came up with the program that you get what you raise.
Flexible funding. Right.
Wow.
So with Indiegogo, you have options. For one thing, so with the Can Van, we had a flexible funding campaign, and we raised $4,000 out of $10,000. And so the way that our platform works is that you choose at the beginning whether you want fixed or flexible. Fixed, meaning only if you meet or exceed your goal, or flexible, meaning any money you raise, you take home. And for people who are making a product or something that only if they meet that goal are they able to move it forward.
Right.
That's when fixed is a really great option. But for flexible, for a small business owner like us, anything was great. Anything was money that we didn't have before. And so we try to set people up for success and to ensure that they have access to capital and they're able to do what is best for them.
Now, when we were talking the other night, you said that of all of the communities around the country and around the world, that Chicago came out like number 5 or something in terms of the level of activity on the platform. What does that mean? What's behind that being number 5? Does that mean that the number of active campaigns, the number of people that support campaigns? I mean, Chicago has jumped all over this thing, and they're really a lot of support. So it really made sense for you to come back. But what does that mean? Are a lot of campaigns are emanating out of Chicago?
Definitely. So it's on both sides, both from people contributing to campaigns and starting campaigns. That Chicago is a top city for this, and I think that it's clear of why. It's just at its core, Chicago really prides itself on its civic participation. And you talk to people and they're very passionate about being a Chicagoan and supporting Chicago, and there's a lot of civic pride here. And that was one thing that, one, attracted me to want to move home, and then two, also attracted me to take this role with Indiegogo.
Now, when you were telling your story, a couple of things kind of jumped out at me that you don't normally hear. Number one, you were out in the Bay Area. You knew a young lady, a girlfriend of yours that worked there. Then she talked to you, and then she had you come in, and you talked to another lady. And one of the things that's concerning people about this whole tech boom is a lot of times we don't hear about women and minorities. We don't hear about diversity. But it sounds like Indiegogo is a different type of company. It sounds like you're a tech company, but sounds like you're pretty diverse, because it sounds like some women, a woman was one of the co-founders, and it sounds like you guys got a lot of diversity. Is Indiegogo unique in that way in terms of tech startups that you are diverse as you are?
We definitely are. Great way to pick that up. We actually released a diversity report earlier last year, and we pride ourselves on, one, the amount of women that are in our company, and also how much this is something that we're really concerned with, and this is something that we really want to continue to improve on. And so with women also, given that from us, we know that we're a reflection of our community, and so typically when you hear about VC funding, that it doesn't typically go to women. What we're proud of is that with Indiegogo, there's more than 40% of campaigns are funded by women, or are run by women.
Okay.
And so those are women making real money through their communities, through the people who support them.
Wow, that is really some insight, because that is a high level of frustration. When you look at private equity, when you look at venture capital, for many, many years it's been perceived as an old boys network or young boys network or some kind of boys, but it's not. You don't often see women, you don't often see people of color, you don't often see diversity, and this has been very frustrating. Recently, as you may have known, the CEO of Intel spoke up about this and said, this industry cannot serve the world the way it needs to serve the world if it doesn't start to look a little bit different. You can't have a company that's, 80% of the engineers and 80% of the people in different roles are all men and not, diverse. And so this is something the industry needs to address, to bring up the number of African Americans, of blacks, of Latinos, of women. And certainly when we talk about, I'm sure if you look on Indiegogo, you see some of the campaigns are around STEM education and girls can code, and African Americans doing different things in all aspects of technology and business and entrepreneurship. And so here is an area where through crowdfunding, people can get their story out and find capital. So when we look at some of the averages within Indiegogo, what's the average or the typical amount of money that's raised, and how long does a campaign stay active on the platform before it's closed out or it meets its particular goal? Is it usually on the platform for 30, 60, 90 days? Is the amount raised 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? Are there some typical metrics that you guys are starting to see in terms of the averages and how people engage with the platform?
So campaigns typically on Indiegogo are between 30 and 45 days, and the average contribution on Indiegogo is around $75. And the most popular perk level is $25. The second most popular is $100. And one thing to your point, so as companies are building and becoming better businesses, what we were hearing feedback from our users was that while it's really great to have a campaign, what they really want is also to be able to continue to capitalize on the traffic that they've gained through their campaign, because they have a piece of interstate or real estate. And so what we did was we created a program called In Demand. And so that allows a campaign, after the campaign has ended, so after that 30 to 60-day period has ended, they're able to continue to accept contributions through the Indiegogo page. And so they don't need to necessarily still be campaigning, but they're able to, if you were to come and go to, right now I think we have over 100 companies we just came out of pilot stage for it.
Okay.
And they're raising real money. We have one company called Geek Audio that's actually raised more money in demand than they did during their campaign.
Okay.
They raised $1.1 million during their actual campaign and raised over 1.3
Wow.
as part of In Demand.
Oh, man.
And so that's real
All right.
money.
Okay.
And that's we're
So people can put up a billboard or their campaign, and then they can keep it up.
Exactly.
And that's something that people go to peruse, and it starts to ripple out across the internet, and people kind of hear about it. So that means that you guys Indiegogo is a real giving community, that community is giving, receiving, and collaborating. And
Definitely.
have you also seen that amongst projects that sometimes people come on that platform and find out about other people that they can partner, connect with to get their products or services out into the marketplace?
Definitely. We've seen a few, and a few companies will actually start offering perks from other campaigns. And so because they'll start partnering up because their products are complementary. One that we saw was called Plexi Drone.
Okay.
And they offered a product called Bubble as part of a perk pack. And then that gives you the power of not only your community and your company's community, but also their community, because they'll start to help push it out as well. And so it's incredible to be able to have this collaboration platform where people feel engaged and part of something bigger.
Well, I hope you could tell that we are both pretty excited about this thing, but nobody's more excited than our local evangelist for Indiegogo. And when I'm sitting here listening to her and vibing up on this concept, I can only think about, this is a demonstration of the principle, the law of giving and receiving. There's so many ways that people can give. And when you give, it is pressed back, given unto you. And here is a technology platform. And there's so much we could talk about this, but you know what? You need to go take a look at this thing. I tell you, if you see this platform called Indiegogo, Indiegogo, if you go take a look at this Indiegogo, you'll sit there for hours just going around the world looking at what people are doing. Kate, welcome home.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Chicago. We love you. We need you. You couldn't have come home at a better time. And hey, look, you are at the right place at the right time, because you are finding out something that's going to make a difference, and somebody needs some money, and Indiegogo may be the place they could go to get access to capital. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for watching this edition of Technology Access Television.